camera today.
You
I
mean
do apologize, but you all do not want to see me. But
right?
otherwise, everything else is fine.
Right?
And I see we still got about a minute before we get started. And I see Miss Rhonda, she'll probably do roll call first before we get started.
Well, you see, Rhonda has the phone next to her ear, so she's orchestrating. You know, she's like the airport controller. She's got to orchestrate a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
She's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you doing these classes for us.
Oh yeah, it's my joy. I think today's going to be an exciting class, a lot about smart spending,
Right.
which we all need reminders of.
Vanessa, that's how you pronounce your first name?
Yes, Vanessa.
And then last name
Tangwa.
Gua. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about teaching at college?
Oh, like being a professor?
Yeah.
That's actually one of my dreams. I thought it'd be so cool to always be around young people and just getting all of their energy and excitement about the future. So yeah, I've thought about it in the past.
Right. Do you have your master's in finance and
I
accounting?
have my master's in management.
They're looking for masters in finance and accounting, but if you have it in management, send me your resume and I'll see if there's an opportunity and see if you might be interested to teach. I started teaching and 26 years ago, and I did 19 years as a part-time professor. And then when I retired, now I'm full-time as a professor.
See, that's a nice career path. That's exactly what I've thought about. Like, you know, towards the end of my career, going full out and being a professor. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason why I asked, because you say you enjoy the kids, and that's the driver for me.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are now live. Welcome to the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas, Wells Fargo Hands-On Banking High School Edition. My name is Rhonda Nolan. I'm your program manager. We have your instructors today, Mr. Daryl Rayford, the CFO of the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas, and Ms. Vanessa Tangwa, the Vice President of Wells Fargo Bank. Say hello, instructors.
Bonjour, everybody.
Hola. Okay.
Bonjour.
So I'm going to do a quick roll call to see who's here. If you hear your name, please say here. Actually, I'm going to give it about 5 more minutes. Daryl, I'm going to let you guys start. And I'm going to come back before the end and take the roll call. Okay, I'll give more time for everybody to join. Is that all right?
So do you want us to wait for the fashion relator or just get started?
Nope, you guys get started because you have a long class, but I'll be there on the end to take. So no one leave the class until I take attendance. Okay, everybody stay until I get here.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
and I can make sure I can share my screen.
Okay, let me give you that. Let me do that real fast. Oh, there you go.
Are you able?
There's your, okay, that's your screen we're seeing, right?
Yes, do you see the value of money?
Yep, that's you.
Okay, and tell me if you can hear this.
When I first started working, I used to say, the only thing I like better than making money is spending it.
Yeah.
Oh,
perfect.
wow. Awesome. This is great. All right. Good morning, students. Good morning. Hopefully everybody's doing well. For those of you that's just joining, I just mentioned that I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm not going to be on video. I do apologize because I usually do love seeing you all. Let's see. Am I still on? Can you guys see me okay? I mean, you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So today we're going to talk about spending your money smartly. That's something that's very, very important. You'll find that even older adults are still having problems in balancing their money and spending wisely. So you at your age definitely want to get a good handle of it now. So today we'll talk about being a savvy shopper, buying a car smartly, even renting an apartment. And then what's going to be most important is having a plan. So before we get started, I'm gonna give the mic over to Mr. Rayford and see if there's anything he wants to mention.
Good morning, everybody. I just took the curlers out of my hair, so now I can come on video. This is a very important subject. Over the past 2 sessions, I've asked you to speak to your friends about the subject matter that we are discussing. And I said, speak to your parents about the subject matters that we're discussing, because we're never too young to learn. So, you know, share your enjoyment of these sessions. I love it. Ms. Tonga and I just chit-chatted about teaching, and you know, feel free to teach other people. So the value of money is very important, and I'm sure Ms. Tonga will get into it, but one of the things that I want you to understand is money works with time. You are younger than me, so save $1 today, and by the time you're 55, 60, 65 years old, that dollar probably be $10, $20. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Tonga, and we'll have a dialogue. Please raise your hand for questions. Don't be nervous, and use this session as a laboratory to learn more. And if we don't have the answer, we'll write it down and we'll look it up and we'll get back to you. Ms. Tonga, take it away.
All righty, so we're gonna start with this video.
When I first started working, I used to say, the only thing I like better than making money is spending it. Now I realize I don't actually love spending money. I like getting the most I possibly can for the money I make. I like the value I get for my money, whether it's clothes or computers. If I shop smart, I can get things that are worth it, things I really use and enjoy. We'll show you how to make the most out of your money by shopping the smart way.
Okay, good morning. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Good
So
morning.
as you know,
How's
with our
everyone doing?
videos, oh, Mr. Rayford, if you
Good,
could let
okay.
Miss
We're
Rhonda
gonna
know
do
that
a
she's
quick
still
roll
on.
call, see who we
That
have
she's
here
still
All right.
today
online.
before
I'll
we
let her know.
start class.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I'll try to speak a little louder, but here's where we take a quiz before we do a lot of our learning. So on the left-hand side is going to be some words and then a definition on the right-hand side. So as last time, let's make this very interactive. It'll make this class a lot more fun. So if you can take yourself off of mute and help me answer some of these, figure out where they belong. So when you look at warranty, what would a warranty, what would be the definition of a warranty? And feel free to just yell it out.
Recording in progress. Camille Burnell, Jason Washington, Samira Glover,
Anybody?
Charles McCoy.
So on the right-hand side, we
A
have,
contract to use a car?
Edward Brown.
okay,
No.
contract to use the car for a specific period of time. That one there actually would be auto lease. So auto lease is you having a contract and you're paying it for a specific period of time. Let's try it again. So for warranty, anyone else see a better option?
Performance guarantee given to a buyer of goods or services.
Okay, good. We'll put that over here. Then for spending plan, what's the best option?
Strategy for using your income to meet your goals.
Perfect. So the last one is premium, the amount you pay for insurance. So I'll put this over here and we'll submit. Perfect, perfect score. So now let's go into having a plan. What should Danica pay first?
Luciana,
Things in the right order.
was that Leslie Cavallo?
Covers her needs.
Luciana Roman? Marcus Williams?
Uh-oh. Which one do you think is the
Lopez
best
Martinez?
answer?
Mylan Walker? Nicole? Ali Allen? Oscar Domingue?
I just text.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zora Allen. Oscar Dominguez Esquivel. Hold on one second, please. Oh my God, hold on.
I think she
Hey,
found it.
Daryl.
Hey, we can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so what Danica wants to pay things in the right order so that her monthly income covers her needs. So we have three options. The first thing I'll do is set aside money I need for everyday expenses like groceries and bus fare. I know I have some big expenses coming, so I better set that money aside first, or before I do anything else, I'm gonna pay my bills. What's the best choice for her?
Set
Pay the
aside
bills.
money.
Okay, I heard put aside money and I heard pay bills. So let's see. Since I heard a put aside first, let's try that and hit submit. Nope, it says before I do anything else, I'm going to pay my bills. So that's the correct answer, is to pay the bills first. Even though, Mr. Rayford, I kind of think sometimes it's good to put your 10% aside. You know, always having.
Well, we ran into that last week, Ms. Tanga.
Say Panazza.
We didn't agree with the author on one of the answers, Mr. Blaylock and I and the students. So with that one, I agree with you. I think you should pay yourself first. And when you pay yourself first, I think like Ms. Tanga said, put 10% aside, because what you don't see, you won't spend. If you pay bills, you're more than likely apprehensive to put money aside for yourself. So, and by paying yourself, you'll create less bills. So I think pay yourself first is the best thing, but that's not up here clearly.
Right. Yep. But so don't forget, so one of the things you can do, especially if you have a job, I think a cool idea is every time you get paid, at least getting maybe like what is that, a $10 roll of quarters, and maybe put it like in a piggy bank, or put it, you know, somewhere where you could hide it from yourself, or it could be a $20 bill. But if you do that every single time you get paid, over time you'll have a nice little emergency fund. So here we're talking about spending step by step, what you should do. So pay your monthly bills. There are many potential penalties if you pay late, such as late fees, losing possession of things that go through your credit card, or even being evicted from your apartment. So making sure you know what your monthly bills are and paying those, that's really the most important thing. Next is living expenses. Setting aside money you'll need on a weekly and day-to-day expenses like groceries and bus fare. So right now, you probably know every day when you go to school, you probably have a certain dollar amount you're spending for like a bag of chips or a soda, or even to catch the bus. So those are like your living expenses. Emergency fund, and this is what I was talking about. If you're getting paid now or you're getting an allowance, finding, you know, a piggy bank, it could even be just it could even be a Kleenex box that's empty, and then just putting some money there for an emergency. Upcoming expenses, setting aside money for larger expenses that you know are coming, such as car repairs and appliances. And sometimes now at this age, you probably put money aside for, you know, maybe your sibling or your parents' birthday or your grandma's birthday. And then also around Christmas time, you may want to put some money aside because you want to buy someone special a gift. So those are like upcoming expenses. Or it could be something like, you know, you have a trip coming up and you want to have some money for that trip. Future goals. Set aside money for your major future goals, whether it's a home, college education, new car, or travel. Yeah, I bet many of you are probably thinking about a car in the future. So that's something you want to, you know, open a bank account, especially because cars are going to be a little bit more than just 100 or two. So you want to put money into like somewhere safe so that you won't lose it. And then increase savings. If you begin to earn more, increase the amount you save as much as you can. What you find is that a lot of times when people make more money, they end up spending more money. So what you want to do is get into a habit of putting aside XYZ. So like, let's say you're starting with putting aside $20 every paycheck. When your paycheck gets bigger or you get a promotion, maybe increase that to $25. So instead of spending the extra money that you're making, just put that more into savings. Okay, what is a spending plan? Let's hear more about this.
It sure feels like fun to spend money whenever I feel like it, but it's definitely not fun to run out of money before I wanted to. That's why I make a spending plan.
If the word spending plan sounds scary or like too much work, don't panic. It's actually simple. You write down how much money you have coming in during an average month and then decide how you're going to spend it. Putting it down on paper helps you see where you can make better money decisions.
The right spending plan can help you set aside enough to pay your bills, have some savings for emergencies, and some money left over in your pocket every month.
Okay, so they pretty much simplified it. They talked about just basically as having a spending plan is writing down all of the bills you have coming in, and then also knowing how much money you have coming in. Or should I say, knowing the income that's coming in, and then knowing how much money you're spending out. So some concepts when you think about spending is income versus take home. So what you may notice when you first start working is that they'll tell you, let's say you're making $15 an hour, and you'll do the math and you'll think you're gonna get X, Y, Z. So you may think your check is gonna be $500. But once you get your check, what you'll notice is that there's taxes, there's insurance, and there's other things that are subtracted from your paycheck. So there's an income that they tell you you're gonna get, but be mindful that there's gonna be items that, whether it's Social Security, taxes, and if you're paying for health insurance, it's all gonna come out of your paycheck. So your paycheck will be smaller than what you're expecting. Knowing what you spend now, and that's pretty much writing down everything that you're spending. So if you save your receipts and at the end of the week, you write everything down, you'll be able to track on how much money you're spending. You may find that you're spending too much money on food or too much money on clothes or something. So just at least tracking it will allow you to know what you're doing, so that if you have to make changes, you'll know what you can take, what changes you can make. So there's 3 types of expenses. There's fixed expenses, such as card payments, bills, car registration, and then there's also flexible expenses. So flexible expenses are things that you can control more of, like your groceries, your long distance phone bills. Actually, nowadays we all have cell phones, so long distance doesn't really pertain to many of us unless you're making international calls. But those are gonna be those more items where you can spend less money at the grocery store. Like you don't have to buy 5 boxes of cereal. You could just say, we'll just buy 2 and spend less. And then there's discretionary expenses, and those are the dollars you choose to spend, but don't necessarily have to spend. So for example, clothes, the movies, going out to eat. So these are 3 types of expenses: fixed, which you can't change because you just have to pay, whether it's rent or car; flexible, things that you can control, like groceries, you can spend less in groceries. And then there's discretionary, and that's like going out to eat. So if
Ms.
you
Tanga?
do, yes, go ahead.
Are there any students that are working? I think there was a gentleman last week that said he was working. Is he online? And are there any other students working?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. And is anybody else working? No? What is your name, sir, again?
Darius.
Hey, Darius, thanks for coming back. Okay.
All right, Darius, since you already have your mic unmuted, do you create a plan for the monies that you're making?
Yeah.
Yeah? And
Yeah.
how's it going? Is it tough sometimes?
Not really. So every paycheck that I get, I have a savings account too. So I'll put like half of it in there. And
Wow.
then since I'm young and I don't really have like bills to pay or anything, I don't really have anything to like really set aside for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah,
That is
I
awesome.
put most of it in savings for now.
Okay. And then for a long-term range plan, what do you think you'll be spending the money on in the future? Or some of
Probably
it?
more like I want to invest when I get older. So it's probably gonna be more of like putting money into stocks to get more money back.
That is awesome. Perfect.
Yeah,
That is perfect.
that's my plan for now.
Okay, good. Students, you see, he has more than enough income because he has no bills. That's the precious thing about where you are right now is most of you are not paying a car note, you're not paying rent. Most of the money that you're going to be making goes to yourself. So when you have the opportunity to work and then you're getting these paychecks, just like Darius, I would definitely highly recommend trying to save half or more. That is awesome. Making trade-offs. Most people can't afford everything they want to buy, so they have to make trade-offs. Making trade-offs may mean giving up things that you can do without, or buying something less expensive that still meets your needs. So for example, for me, if I need running shoes, like tennis shoes, I personally don't need Jordans because I don't want to spend that much money. So for me, my trade-off may be getting, just some nice little Asics or some Reeboks or just less expensive Nikes. So that's a trade-off that I make. Now I may still go and get my hair done because I have to get my hair done, but that's the trade-off that I make. So you can't always have everything, but you can probably spend less on something so that you can get something else. So you want to be realistic and you want to be flexible when you're creating your spending plans because things change. Sometimes it's your birthday weekend and you want to look really great or you want to have different things, but then be realistic. You can't spend money all the time. And then lastly, they're deciding on how much to save. As Darius mentioned, he's saving half. So you definitely want to know how much you want to save and try to stick to that plan. Mr. Rafer, you want to add anything as I go to the next area?
Well, I'm just flabbergasted by Darius. Darius is leading by example. So I think we all should take a note of what Mr. Reed is doing because he said he wants to invest. And one of the things you said, Darius, was you want to invest when you get older. You should look into things that you can invest in now because money works with time. So if you're putting that money in a sock drawer, or if you're putting that money in a savings account, I empower you. You like that word, Darius? I empower you to ask your banker how much interest you're making on that money. Because if you don't need it, you may want to put it in a CD that's earning more interest than it did, or something else. You may want to talk to Miss Tanga to chit chat with her about instruments out there, or you may want to reach out to me. So
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Darius.
I talked to my dad about like the interest rate, and he switched over my savings account to a different account to get more interest. Because at first I think it was like 0.01%, and then now it's like 3%, I think, something like that.
Well, then you got to tell me that bank because I got to move my money into that too. If you're getting 3%,
I'll ask my dad when he gets home.
Because the reason why I say that is banks charge about 0.035% on savings, but you have some non-brick and mortar banks that do offer 1-2%. And I think Wells Fargo has CDs that are better now. So Ms. Tanger can talk to you guys about that. So very good.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Darius, man, you are just ahead of the pack here. Yes, actually, talking to your dad was a very smart thing to do, and him putting you into something about 3% is great. But yes, like Mr. Rayford said, there are CDs out there at 4%. So you and your dad, going to the bank and talking to the banker. And I love the word empower. I think it is going to be good for you to take the time, because it is your account. Go into the bank and ask to speak to a banker and just have a conversation. The way I look at it is, when you watch movies and the person is, some rich person walks in and the bank has an appointment with the banker. Well, you have money, so you deserve, and you can go and talk to a banker. Now, you may not have a lot of money, but you want to start practicing these money moves, right? You want to already feel rich. You already want to, I believe in manifesting what I want. So you have money there, you're allowed, and you have the privilege to speak to a banker. And if nothing else, just a chit chat and to learn more about, to pick their brains. and you'll never know what what you may learn. And also just having that connection with that person will also be great in case you ever need help with your bank account.
And another thing, Darius, as Ms. Tanga said, that banker should treat you exactly the way that banker treats that rich person.
Yep.
Because there's more money in the bank by people like Darius than that one rich person. Here's an example. If 2 million people put $1 in the bank, that's $2 million. If the rich person puts $1 million in there, you still got $2 million from the average customer. So expect and be wanting to be treated like everybody else. Now, I'm saying that, but I also have a caveat. Don't be rude, but you could always tell the person, hey, I don't think you treat me with respect.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You deserve the same treatment, definitely. Okay. All right, so here, Raphael's cell phone bill is out of control. So he wants to find a new provider. He wants to reduce his cell phone expense and avoid the surprise of another huge bill. What is the correct answer? The first one, going to look at how many minutes and messages I've been using and compare companies' plans online and read a contract before I sign, or look for the best new customer offer. That's number 2. And lastly, it's just confusing to compare companies and plans. I'm just going to ask one experienced salesperson and trust them. What's the best option?
The first one.
Yep. So here what the person is doing is they're going to take a look at what they're using right now. And they're going to compare companies online, and they're going to also read the contract, because it's important to understand, because sometimes you can get locked in. You could be in a 2-year, you could be in a 4-year plan. So you want to know what you're signing, because sometimes, for a lot of these companies, things change all the time. So you want to be careful. Here, I'll read this. Raphael's best choice is compare companies and plans and read a contract carefully before he signs. Why is this his best move? This will help him control his costs. Having a bill he can always pay on time and is in full is an important step to building good credit. Watch out, high text messaging charges can add up to hundreds of dollars each month. Exceeding the number on your plan may be, you could be charged an extra text. I think nowadays a lot of people have the, what is it, kind of like the larger plans, because we use so much data. So a lot of times, many people don't go over. Do any of you have plans where you can go over, or do you have the unlimited plans? What do most of you have? You guys are probably saying, I don't pay the bills, so I have no idea. I think most people nowadays have the unlimited plan, but if you do have a plan where it charges you by the minutes and texts, you definitely want to be mindful of how much you're using so that your bill doesn't go up. Okay, so smart shopping tips. I'll go through this and then I'll let Mr. Rayford add to this. So at the store, resist impulse buying. Ask yourself, do I really need it? Do I need it today? What if I buy it now? Can I do this at a lower cost? Also, limit the cash you carry. Shop with a spending plan in mind. Avoid ATM fees by using your bank's ATMs. Watch for sales, wait for the right price, and look for coupons, rebates, and shop for value. And this is true. If any of you have ATM cards with your banks, what you'll notice is that if you bank at Wells Fargo, for example, and then you use your ATM card at Bank of America is going to charge you like $3 just to take money out. So if you're going to use your ATM to just take out 20 bucks, and then they're going to charge you $3 out of your own money, you're paying way too much. So be careful with that. One trick that I do is a lot of times I do my cash back at like CVS or Walgreens or the grocery store, because most of those places don't charge you an ATM fee. So if you have an ATM card, use it at the bank that is from. Food shopping. the best thing to know is don't go shopping hungry, because as you know, when you're hungry, you want to buy everything because everything looks good. Look out for sales and use coupons. Credit card tips. Honestly, the best thing to do with credit cards is try to pay it off full at the end of the month. So if you're using your credit card and then you're finding that you're leaving a balance, then you're probably not using that credit card wisely. You may want to use a credit card if you have like awards for like eating at restaurants or like gas, because a lot of times you can actually get money back for using your credit card at those establishments. But otherwise, you don't want to have a balance of greater than 10% of your monthly net income.
Can I interject on the credit card?
Yes.
I want everybody to write this down. FICO score, FICO. Please write this down. It's the Fair Isaac Credit. I forgot the rest of it, but it's your credit score. And once you establish credit, it will follow you for the rest of your life. When I came into the workplace, jobs would call previous jobs to see about my character. As time has gone by, I see many institutions, banks, financial institutions, credit institutions, and even regular companies now check people's credit score, which is the FICO score. Thank you. Which is the FICO score, because they want to know that somebody's not broke. Because if you're broke, there's fear that you're going to steal from them to pay off your debt. So please talk to your parents about it, talk to your friends about it. And why I'm bringing this up, because a lot of times we say, I didn't know. Well, now you know. Your FICO score will follow you for the rest of your life.
Yes, it will. And getting a good FICO score means that when you're purchasing large items like a car, you'll pay less interest because they trust you in paying back that debt. But if you have a low credit score, like 300, 400, they're going to actually charge you more interest for paying off that car, because they really don't trust you. So it's almost like they want their money up front because they don't trust that you're going to be paying it to the end. So very good tip.
And one of the things you got to understand, and I have children and I have grandchildren, and if you look at the behavior between the parent and the child, when the parent reprimands the child, it's usually the child that's madder at the parent. So I've coined this phrase, and you guys can adapt to it. How can you be mad at me as the parent when you did the wrong as the child? My granddaughter is mad at her mother because the mother took her cell phone away for 3 months. Why did the mother? And she called me, my granddaughter called me up to chastise my daughter. I said, well, what did you do? She said, well, I was sneaking out in the middle of the night. I said, get off this phone. I said, you did the wrong, and now you want me to chastise your mother. You don't deserve a phone. So the same thing with a FICO score and your credit. If you abuse credit and you don't get that job, you got to look at yourself.
Yep. And one other thing is some companies, to get a job, they also look at your credit score, because they want to make sure that you're someone that they can trust and that you're good with money, and that you won't, you won't be trying to steal from clients because you are not good with your own money management. Okay, take advantage of discounts. As you know, it's been a while. I think everybody's going back to the movies these days, but like when you go to the movies, for example, there's I forget what it's called, but like if you go around 11, 12, 1 o'clock, I think the matinee or so, but you can pay less to go to the movie just by going at that time. You all are students. Make sure that you're using your student ID to get the student discounts if they still have that. Also, when you go to restaurants, if you have a grandparent, you may want to ask your grandparent, like, hey, see, there's a senior discount, but there's so many different discounts out there. So the smarter you are in using other people's money and using discounts, then that means you can save more for yourself and put half into your savings account. But be mindful of that. And then skip the rest and save the best. What this is talking about is sometimes if you know you have something coming up in the next few months, you may want to say, you know what, I'm not gonna buy this extra pair of jeans or this another t-shirt. You know, I have enough of these things, or I'm not gonna eat out this week. I'll just eat my mom's food so I can save my money so I can do something else later. Starbucks, for example, my daughter, like I tell you guys, my daughter is 22. She loves Starbucks. So, but do you know the Starbucks is like $6, $7 a cup of coffee? So me personally, I just make coffee at home because I don't want to spend the $6, $7 to buy Starbucks.
Well,
And then here it says,
you bring up a good point,
mhm,
because one of the things that I do, I don't know if you noticed, Ms. Tanga, is that I do financial advisory as well. And I don't sell stock, but I sell insurance that is tied to stock. And I sell insurance that has a savings plan. And one of the things that people don't realize, they say $7 is not a lot of money. But if you multiply 7 times 352 days, that's $2,464. I have clients that did not save, but they went to Starbucks 3 times a day. So now I have them buying Starbucks, because I don't want to tell them what to do. I just advise them where their money's going. So now I have clients that are buying Starbucks once a day and saving $5,000.
Yep, that coffee will add up. Everything adds up. So just be mindful of what you're spending your money on and if you really need it. Because it could be something like you may say, hey, Starbucks is my guilty pleasure, but maybe it'll be just something that you just have on Mondays or just Fridays instead of every single day. Okay, so when you're making major purchases, you want to consider your needs. Is this something that you truly need, or is it something that you want? A need is like you really need it because you have to get to work and you really need this car. But a want could be something that, oh, you just want another pair, another jacket. And so you want to just buy another jacket, but you don't really need it because you have 3 other jackets. Check your budget. Decide how much money you want to spend on a purchase and watch for sales and special offers. Research first. So make sure you're researching your products and you know why you're buying it. Determine when, how, and where to buy the item to get the most for your money. Check the warranties carefully. And comparison shop. Shop around the internet. It will save you time, energy, and effort. And then that way you can also make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. And then shop for value. Remember, your goal is best overall value, not just the lowest price. And that's true because you don't want to buy cheap things. With certain things, you may want to spend the extra money. Like one thing that really bugs me is like things for accessories for your cell phone. Like I do like buying the cheaper chargers, you know, at the gas station, but they always break. So sometimes I realize it's better if I just go to the AT&T store, buy the $24 one, or maybe it's 30 these days, and it'll last me a lot longer than buying a new $10 one every other month. So be mindful of things like that. So buying cheap doesn't always mean it's the best thing.
That's an excellent point.
All right. How many of you have cars? Go ahead and unmute and let us know. Does anybody have a car?
I have a car, yeah.
Okay, we got one. Anybody else?
So Darius, do you have rules for driving that car?
Of course.
Can you share with it, or you don't want to share with us?
Yeah, so like I could go places anywhere from like 11 in the afternoon to like 9 at nighttime. So I have to be like back home or like at like somewhere, not driving at 9 p.m.
Okay, what about paying your car insurance?
Yeah, so I give my dad like half of it, I think. So we go half and half with it for now since I don't have that much income coming in.
Okay. What about gasoline?
Oh yeah, I pay for that myself too. That's a struggle out here.
Well, let me ask you a question. Can you go to your dad and say, "Hey, Dad, can I have some money for gasoline?"
I mean, I can. Not guaranteed he'll say yes though.
I smile when I ask him that because that was one of the rules that my dad had the same rules as Darius's dad. But one of the things that my dad told me, he said, a car is a privilege, not a need. You don't need a car. Go to the bus stop and catch the bus. But since I wanted a car, he said, okay, but don't ask me for gas money. He said, do not ask me for gas money. Now, as far as insurance, I had to do a Darius that I had to put something on the counter to contribute. But that was his thing. And he said, you better keep your car clean. That was it. That's why I asked Darius. Thank you.
Mhm.
Nice. So since it seems like many of you don't have a car, it's going to be really important because we're going to talk about buying cars smartly.
You're on Echo, Miss Tanga. So I don't know if you have your cell phone and your computer on.
Okay. Let me start the video. Let's see.
Hello.
If you're one of the millions of people who decide to get a car, the main thing is just be realistic about what it's going to cost you. When I owned a car a few years ago, it was definitely fun, but a major responsibility too, and a major expense.
You know what? I'm right there with you. It's not just the cost of the car. It's all the extra expenses that come with it. Gas, parking, maintenance, repairs, insurance, taxes, fees. I mean, the list goes on. And while you're paying all this money, the value of your car is going down the more you put miles on it.
Exactly. So that's why our advice is to research it, think it through, and take the process step by step.
Okay. Should Megan buy a car?
You're still echoing, Miss Tanga.
Am I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Ray, I'm gonna let you read this and I'm gonna dial in while you guys do this piece.
I can't read. All right. So read Megan's thoughts and then choose the best answer. 1, now that I have a full-time job, I should invest in a new car. I'll get to work on time and do my errands faster. Plus, I could go away on weekends. Or 2, I'll try public transportation first and then ask around at the office about a ride sharing. Maybe I won't even need a car. And 3, it's hard for me to read. And 3, I think I'll buy a really inexpensive used car that will give me all the 3 things I want: convenience, flexibility, and low cost. So what do you guys think is the answer?
The last one.
Okay. What about anybody else? See, I don't have control over the computer, but we can have a dialogue. What about anybody else?
I think the third one as well, because it gives all 3 options for what you want.
Right. So again, like my dad said, a car is a privilege. But one of the things that Mr. Reed and I did not discuss is repairs. Who repairs the car, Darius, when your car breaks down?
I mean, we haven't really had that problem yet.
No,
So
good for you. I was blessed when I started driving. My family mechanic showed me many things about a car, but he taught me to maintain minimal things, like keep air in the tires.
yeah, that's what my dad does.
Check your oil, check your transmission fluid, simple things like that, because if you don't check them, you could have a big problem. So one of the things that my dad taught me was you might have an issue, fix the issue before it becomes a problem. Good job. All right, points to consider. Your needs. Based on your situation, what type of vehicle will fill your transportation needs now and in the next few years? Will a two-door compact do the job? Or do you need a four-door car, a four-wheel drive, or maybe a pickup? Are safety and fuel economy important to you? Options such as sunroof, leather seats, fancy wheels, and a sound system can be great, but they can add a lot to the price of a car. Consider value. Reference guides such as Kelley Blue Book. Are you familiar with Kelley Blue Book, Darius?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds can help you determine the value of the vehicle. Keep in mind that these features such as sunroofs and leather seats may add to the car's resale value. Safety features are typically not very expensive for the potential benefits they offer, but probably won't add much to the resale value. Visit websites such as Auto Trader to compare models and features. Talk with a loan officer to get more information about car values. New versus used cars. Remember, almost all cars depreciate. That means they go down in value. It's wear and tear over time. The value of a new car can drop hundreds of or even thousands of dollars the day you drive it off the lot. Excuse me. You may be able to save a substantial amount by finding a used car in good mechanical condition. Buy versus lease. Buying a car means paying it with cash and or a loan. After you make all the payments, you own the vehicle and can sell it or trade it. With leasing, you're renting. You sign a contract and make monthly payments to have used car for a specific length of time. After making all the lease payments, you return the car to the dealer. You own nothing and may even owe the dealer more money for any excess mileage or damage. Pay attention to your contract. However, monthly lease payments can are often less than loan payments. A down payment. You probably need some significant cash up front to acquire the car to begin with. This is known as a down payment. Have you set enough money aside for a down payment? Loan terms. If you get a car loan, you'll have a monthly payment to the lender. Keep in mind that the longer the term of your loan that there is, the longer you have to pay the money back. The lower your monthly payment will be. But this will also mean that you'll pay more interest over the life of the loan and will end up paying more for the car than you originally purchased. Make sure you know what your total costs will be and decide if the vehicle seems worth it to you for that price. Monthly budget. After you pay all your other bills, how much money do you have available to pay your ongoing expenses for a car? Ownership, fuel, insurance, maintenance, registration, parking, so forth and so on. Remember, over the years that you own the car, there may be times when your income drops or you're unemployed. Try to keep your car expenses within a range you can consistently afford through the ups and downs. Note how quickly your car will depreciate, go up and down, will depend upon factors including make, model, and year, where you live, and how much you drive it. Leasing benefits and drawbacks. This comparison can help you decide if buying versus a lease is best for you. So, having said all of that, okay, you got to look at how much money you're bringing in And then you got to look to see what are the necessary bills you got to pay. That will tell you how much you have in excess. But you don't want to spend all of your excess. And when I say excess, don't forget savings, okay? My son, who's 25 years old, he wants a car, but he just graduated out of college. And me and my wife made him do that exercise. And he said he could afford $280 after savings. So he's now looking for a car for around $250 to $280 because we both said to him, you've got repairs, gas, so forth and so on. So he's doing that right now. But what I want to also explain to you is once upon a time, I was young myself. So don't think that because I'm on this line, I'm an old curmudgeon. Nope, I was a youngster too. And when it came to a car, I wanted to look cute. You guys follow what I'm saying? You guys should be laughing. I wanted to look cute. So my first car was my dad's car that I had to keep up, so forth and so on. Then I saved my money like Darius, and I loved James Bond. So I went out and bought a TR7. Look it up. Y'all got your phones handy? Look up a TR7. And my father said to me after I bought it, that is not practical because I lived in New York City, a lot of potholes, so forth and so on. The car lasted me for about 2 years. And when I had to get rid of it, he said that was the best thing that ever happened to you. So anyway, Ms. Tanga, how are you as far as getting back online? Not good? I can't hear you. So can you scroll up, Ms. Tanga, all the way to the top? Okay, so one of the things we have to consider is the value. What can we afford? We talked about that. New versus used. With a used car, you're inheriting the headaches that somebody may not have wanted. So pay attention to that. Buy versus lease. That's a cash flow issue. Can I afford to purchase the car? Or should I lease the vehicle, which will probably be less monthly payments than if I purchase the car, okay? The next thing, a down payment. You have to have some money and you got to invest in yourself. So the banks are going to say, I'll lend you some money for the car, but will you put some skin in the game? That's what they're going to say, okay? What does it say here? Leasing, benefits, and drawbacks. A new car, consider leasing if you enjoy having a new car and have the latest features. And yes, that's cool, but like we said earlier, you'll never own the car. One of the things that I advise my clients, if you have a business, it might be prudent to lease the vehicle because you need a new vehicle to maintain your business, driving around, doing sales calls, so forth and so on. But if you don't, it might be best to purchase the car and minimize your driving. Leasing a car, you have lower payments, so now you have additional cash flow. Easy transition, you have no trade-in, but again, you don't have the vehicle. New versus used, what's the comparison there? Can we raise it up? Woo, that's a lot of reading.
Mr. Rayford, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still on echo.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna switch over and tell me. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're still echo.
Oh, okay, I'll just let you keep going.
So you have two devices open for that echo. Hello?
Yeah.
That's better. No echo.
No echo?
Oh yeah, there's an echo.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, you still got an echo.
Okay, then I'll let you keep going. You're doing a great job.
I'm doing a good job?
Yes, awesome.
Okay, so anyway, we've got new car versus used cars. We pretty much covered a lot of this stuff. So I'm not going to read all of it, but when you purchase a used car, understand that you're inheriting somebody else's issues. So my suggestion, if you buy a used car, take it to a good mechanic who will look at your car, okay? Again, I know a little bit about a car, so that makes me a little dangerous when I purchase a used car. I will look at the brakes. I will run my fingers along the brake pads and the brake drums, little stuff like that. When the oil is taken out, I will run my fingers on the bottom of the oil pan to see how much little pieces of metal is at the bottom of the oil pan. That's simple stuff. I will open up the radiator to see if the radiator fluid is green or orange. If it's orange, it's never been changed. So simple things like that. Given the situation, which one of these possible options do you think is best for him? I didn't read the top. Buy the used truck for cash and save the fees, make a down payment for the used truck and get a loan, or lease a new truck. I didn't read the option. Let me read the option. Carl has his own landscaping business. I would say number 3. Can you click number 3? So I was wrong, make a down payment. Well, again, as a finance person, he's able to take the lease off his taxes. So that's why I just read that one sentence and I said buy a lease. Okay. What else?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, that's perfect.
Is it? Okay, good. I dialed in on a landline.
Oh, okay.
So now we're going to talk about car insurance. But before we go there, I wanted to add a little bit more to what Mr. Rayford talked about with buying cars. In my experience when I was younger, it's kind of funny when I was looking at it where it says, you know, what kind of car do you want? What color? Is it leather seats and rooftop and different things? Honestly, a lot of times when you first get your first car, you don't really have that many choices because you don't really have a lot of money. So you'll be lucky if you can get your parents' car. That's nice because it's free. It's right there. Otherwise, back in the day, when I was in high school, we were able to save up about $2,000, $3,000, and we bought ourselves, me and my sister, what we called a hoopty. A hoopty just means like an old car, just barely making it, but at least you got something. So I don't know how much it is now to buy one of those smaller cars that, you know, you just try to hope that the body of the car is not dented or anything. But a lot of times you don't have a lot of choices, but you do want to make sure you have as much as you can in the down payment, so that way you have the opportunity of getting mostly what you want. Okay, so we'll go ahead with the car insurance basics.
Before we leave the topic of cars, we want to be sure to tell you about car insurance. It's critical for protecting yourself financially.
No question about it. Buying car insurance can protect you from major expenses that otherwise you couldn't afford, like repairing a car that's damaged in an accident or paying hospital bills.
Here are some basic insurance terms and concepts to get you started. But it definitely makes sense to consult with insurance professionals, consider their advice, and then comparison shop before you buy.
Okay. So car insurance, and I'll tell you this, insurance is one of those things that people say that they really hate paying because you put money into it, and if you don't use it, you don't really always get your money back. But basic information about car insurance, the terminology. When you buy insurance, you receive an insurance policy, a document that spells out exactly what is and isn't covered. The covered items are called your benefits. The amount you pay for insurance is called a premium. When you have costs and submit bills to your insurance company, it is known as filing a claim. Your deductible is the amount of money that you must pay towards repairs and expenses before the insurance company pays. So just to make it a little bit clearer, so you basically pay money to a car insurance company, so then that way if something happens to your car, like you hit someone or someone hits you, they will help you pay for your car. But there's something called a deductible. So that means when a car accident happens, you could have either a $250 deductible, it could be $500, it could be $1,000. What that means is before they'll even pay for your car to be fixed, you still got to give them more money. So you always want to be aware of this. That the insurance doesn't mean you just go in there and they just start fixing it. You still got to pay a deductible. So you always want to make sure you have enough for the deductible. So who pays what? When you file a claim, typically the insurance company will pay only a portion of your cost according to what is outlined in the insurance policy. The amount of a claim that you must pay before the insurance company will pay is called a deductible. The amount you pay towards each medical bill is called a copay. And you'll do a medical bill in case somebody, if somebody has to go to the doctors or hospital. How is the deductible impacts premium? Typically, the higher the deductible amount, the less expensive the insurance premium. So it's a good strategy to get a policy with a high deductible that you can be able to afford comfortably if you had to. This will minimize the cost of your policy. So what this means is if you get a deductible that's like $1,000, then the monthly amount that you pay for your car insurance will be cheaper. Or you can get a low deductible, which is like $250, but that means each month you pay more. So, Mr. Raper, what's your advice on it? Because me personally, I don't like having a $1,000 deductible because I feel like if there's something happens, it's just a lot of money to come up with. So I usually kind of go mid-grade, like 500 or maybe 250. But what has been your experience, and what do you recommend to your son, for example?
Well, one of the things that you got to look at regarding the deductible, whether you pay $250, $500, or $1,000, you got to say to yourself, what is my monthly premium? Is my monthly premium $200, $300, $500? Because if the difference of the premium outweighs over 12 months your deductible, then I would say do the deductible. If it's less, then I would say make the premium payment. That's just a simple math exercise that I would look into when you're looking. I've got $1,000 deductible, but I've got $1 million worth of coverage. And one of the things that you've got to pay attention, and this is why I want you to talk to your parents. A lot of times we look at car insurance as a minimum requirement. So we get minimum insurance. But if you get into a car accident, an astute attorney could not only sue you for your personal assets, but I'm a child, I don't have any assets. Then that attorney's gonna go after your parents' assets. So you should have coverage that covers your assets. And you should talk to your parents about whether or not that coverage covers your assets. And the assets, sorry, I apologize. The assets are things that you own. I've seen it in one example, it wasn't a car accident, but it was a different kind of lawsuit where the wife had to give up her wedding ring. So it could get that personal.
You bring up some good points. When you're out there driving, and don't think you just it's just on you. If you have an accident, you do something crazy, they will go after your parents. So even though you may not have anything, you don't want to, put your parents and your whole family in a situation like that. Recently, I heard about, and this is because I bought my daughter a car, and the car is under my name, and I'm kind of going back and forth if I want to register it in her name now because she's 22. And somebody told me an interesting story. A young man was driving his father's boat. So this is a boat out in the water, and he had an accident. He had been drinking and such with friends, and he had an accident, and the accident happened with a surgeon. So the person that he hit was a surgeon, and that surgeon's hand was messed up for the rest of his life. Do you know they went back and they sued the father of the son for millions of dollars because that surgeon will never be able to do that work. So when you're out there driving, just be responsible. It's not for yourself, for your family, because they will go after your parents if you have nothing.
And the insurance company's only going to pay what that face document says to pay. So if you have minimum coverage, $50,000, the insurance is going to pay the $50,000, and you personally got to come up with the millions of dollars.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So the deductible impacts the premium. Your credit score, once again, credit score always comes back to things. Even your car insurance company will look at what your credit score is to determine on how much money you're going to pay towards your insurance. And there's different types of insurance. Car insurance can include different types of insurance on one policy. For example, collision insures you against damage to your vehicle caused in an accident. Comprehensive protects you against other forms of damage to your car, such as fire, theft, flood, and vandalism. Liability pays for injuries and property damage that you cause to other people's property with your car if you're at the fault. Medical payments covers medical care for you and your passengers if injured in an accident in your car. The most important thing to know is there's liability, and what liability means is that if you are in an accident and it's your fault, the insurance company will take care of the other person's car, but they will not fix your car. That's liability, and that's like the cheapest insurance to have. You'll hear of something called full coverage. Full coverage, and I think is when it covers your car and the other person's car. That means even if it's your fault, the insurance company will cover both cars, so that way you'll always have a car. But you have to be careful. It's going to be more expensive to have the full coverage insurance versus liability. So sometimes you have to, look at your spending, see if you have enough money to afford full coverage. And if you can't, those are the decisions you have to make. How much coverage? Ask the insurance. Go ahead.
Well, in conjunction with what you just said, when we ask for insurance, our language is usually we want the least expensive. And the insurance provider is probably going to say, okay, because they want the sale. So they're going to sell you the least amount of coverage. That's why I said to you, understand what you're getting. Look at what you have, because if you're in an accident, that insurance may not cover it all. Because a lot of people say, I got insurance, I got insurance, I got insurance. You may not have enough insurance. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And something to know is when you're wanting to buy the newer cars, the insurance is going to be a lot more than older cars. And another thing is if you finance your car, meaning, you go buy an $8,000 car, you put $2,000 down, most companies are going to make you buy full coverage. So you have to make sure that you're putting that into your budgeting. You're budgeting that. Because they won't give you the option of just getting liability, because they know that if you owe them $6,000 still and your car is totaled and you can't fix it, then they're not going to get their money either. So the more expensive the car, the more the insurance costs. The newer the car, and if you finance the car, you will have to get full coverage.
Yep.
And then I'll keep going through this. The information contained here, let's see, please read the important legal information. The information contained herein is being provided as is and without representation or warranty. The enclosed information is not intended as legal, tax, or financial planning advice. Any discussion of tax or accounting matters herein, including any attachments, should not and may not be relied on by the recipient or the reader. The recipient reader should consult with his or tax advisor. Let's see, what was that about? So just making sure you're reading the small print with everything, because it'll tell you what they are covering and won't cover. So before we go on to renting apartments, Does anyone have any questions? Or Mr. Rayford, do you have anything you want to add as far as car buying?
No, this is excellent. I wish I had this class when I was 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, that's why I said this, when I saw this training for today, I was like, this is really good. And I wish I would have seen this before myself as well. Okay, so next we're talking about renting an apartment. Tell me this. I guess I'm assuming most of you don't have your own apartment, but how many of you want to get your own apartment in the next, once you graduate? Just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So please pay attention to this. Okay. Hold on.
Let's talk about deciding where to live. There are no right or wrong answers. Everyone's goals and circumstances, financial and otherwise, are a little different, so it's up to you to think through what works best for you, your job, your lifestyle, and your budget.
You may have a few options: living with your family, student housing, or an apartment on your own or with roommates. Someday you may buy a home of your own.
When I moved out of my family's house, the only thing I knew for sure was that housing was now a major expense. Like lots of people, it's my #1 expense.
Okay, let me go down. A place of your own. If you want to rent an apartment by yourself or with roommates, here are some steps to success. Set a rent maximum. Know how much you can afford to spend on rent. A general guideline is that the housing shouldn't exceed 32% of your gross salary, the total amount of your paycheck before taxes and other deductions. Consider how close the location is to your job, school, access to transportation, shopping, entertainment, and neighborhood safety and livability, while keeping your rent within your budget. So this is basically saying you may want to live in a really nice area, but you also want to make sure that you can afford it, but you're still safe. Shop around, read apartment ads, visit the neighborhoods that interest you, look for the rent signs, see as many apartments as you can, make comparisons. Qualify credit-wise. Almost all landlords will do what's called a credit check to see what your history has been as a money manager and decide if they can trust you to pay your rent on a steady basis. Once again, that credit comes back into play.
Yeah.
And then read the lease. In almost all cases, the owner and the apartment manager will ask you to sign a written contract called a lease, and it's extremely important to read and understand the lease before you sign. Mr. Rayford, you want to add some more to this?
What I want everybody to do is write down, I did not know, and then write a line through it, scratch it out. Because after this session, you do know, and you can't use I did not know as an excuse, you know. It says read the lease. Take the lease and read it. It may take you a couple of hours. There are two major purchases that are very emotional: a house and a car. You're so excited to get in that car from that lot, you will sign anything. Tell the dealer,
Yes.
Let me take the lease home, I will read it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Please do that. I'm begging you. Please do that.
Yes.
That's it.
Reading is so important. I'll tell you, I lived in St. Louis, Missouri. You know, I've rented in Missouri, and then I've moved to, I was in California, and I've rented in California, and now I'm here in Las Vegas, and I rented here. Can I tell you, the lease is so different. I believe in St. Louis, you had 10 days to pay your rent, or it was considered late. Then in California, it was 5 days, or it was considered late. And when I say late, what happens is if you pay your rent late, you got to pay a fee. and then here it's 3 days and they consider it late. And then at each place it was totally different. In St. Louis, if you were late, they charge you like $50. So you're like, oh, $50, whatever, I'll pay on the next Friday. Well, in California, it wasn't $50, it was like $75. And then here, when I read my lease and agreement, here they charge $150 to the landlord, the person that owns my house, and then they have a leasing company that you pay another $100 to. So me, in these last 5 years, it's been important for me to understand each lease because each of the different cities, they looked at paying late differently, and then the amount that I was paying was differently, and I was shocked. And I was like, wow, this is so different. But reading is going to be really important so that you don't make a mistake.
And also, what Ms. Tanga said was, you'll be charged a fee, but you may say, okay, I'll just pay the fee. But that charge is going to affect your FICO score. Everything you do is computerized nowadays. It's going to go back on your credit. How many times you were late on your leases or your loan obligations or your credit card. And that might come back and haunt you.
Yes, it can. Okay, so this is good. Pay close attention to this. I don't think I've ever done this. I think I looked at it differently, but it says, what can you afford? Check your spending plan to use the formula below to evaluate your financial situation. A good general guideline is that housing should not exceed 32% of your gross salary or gross income. The gross salary is the total amount of your paycheck before taxes and other deductions. So want to know how much you can afford? Use this formula. So you're going to multiply the gross monthly income by 0.32 to find your suggested maximum rent. Want to know how much gross income you'll need to afford a particular apartment? Use this formula. Take the rent of the apartment you want and divide it by 0.32 to find your suggested gross monthly income. Remember that in addition to your monthly rent, you may have to pay for some or all of your utilities. Many landlords also require tenants to pay a Social Security deposit. A security deposit. If the tenant damages the property or leaves owing rent, the landlord can use these funds to cover what the tenant owes. Consider getting renter's insurance. Even though you're a renter and don't own your apartment, this insurance will cover your costs if your belongings are damaged or stolen. I'll share a little bit with you, and then I'll give it over to Mr. Rayford. When you're getting an apartment, people don't realize this, but let's say it's $800 a month. You don't typically just, reach out to the landlord and just give them $800 and you walk in for that first month. A lot of times they want first month, last month, and they want a security deposit, which could be $800 as well. So you may have to pay you may have to pay 3 times the amount of the rent just to get in. And that's because they want to make sure that if you stop paying, they already have a little bit of a security, basically a cushion, to make sure that they have enough money to cover for you being there. Mr. Rayford, you want to add anything else?
No, we're good. You hit all the spots.
Okay. A lease you can live with. Follow these steps before entering into an apartment lease. If there's anything you don't understand, don't sign. Take it home and think it over. Ask the landlord if your roommates can co-sign the lease, making them equally responsible. Ask someone familiar with leases to help you understand the lawyer's language. See how much notice is needed before moving out, and if a penalty if you break your lease. Oh, that's so important. And avoid these mistakes. If utilities won't be covered by your rent, don't include them in your monthly spending plan. Avoid a written lease if you can make a handshake deal with the landlord instead. Okay, so these are the things you're avoiding. You don't want to do a handshake deal. If you have roommates, never let them read the lease. And then also, if the rent's affordable, now don't worry about how often the landlord allowed to increase it. Well, that was pretty jam-packed right there. So a few things here that I want to touch on is it is important that if you have roommates, that everybody reads the lease. That's something I've had to do with my daughter, especially when she was over 18. I wanted her to understand all the things that they were going to be looking at and what we were responsible for. So make sure everybody knows what's important. Also, you don't want to make a deal with someone and not have a real contract, and then because in that case they can always kick you out of the apartment anytime they want. So you want to make sure you have a real contract. And then also with utilities. One thing to know is I've in some places, cause, you know, like I said, I've moved a few different cities. Not all places give you a refrigerator or a stove or a washer and dryer. So those are important to you. Make sure you're looking at the lease and you know it. Because the last thing you want to do is move into an apartment and then you find out you have to buy your own refrigerator and stove. So that's something I found very interesting when I was living in California, that not all of the places had stoves and refrigerators. All right, so next step.
Well, let me go back to whether or not you take an apartment. If you're living with your parents, this is my suggestion, okay? Apartments and cars, you're going through a phase right now where you want to be recognized as adults. There's a lot of responsibility with that title, being an adult. And you may emotionally want an apartment. But right now you're living with your parents, you're under your parents' rules. So my suggestion is to live with your parents' rules. You've already done it for 16, 17 years. Get a job, pay rent to your parents, and then save your money to move out comfortably. You don't want to be emotional and just say, I'm moving out, because now you've got rent, you've got food, you've got gas bill, you've got heat bill, you may have insurance. So I would respect my parents' home and stay there as long as possible. That's my opinion. Okay, I have a niece that told my brother, I'm moving out. He didn't put her out. She moved out. And now she's asking me and her father and her mother, can you help me with this? Can you help? She should have just stayed home. She's 20 years old. So that's my suggestion.
I totally agree. My daughter's 22, and she's funny. She's the opposite. She's like, Mom, I'm just going to stay with you until I get married. And I'm looking at her like, no. but she has a good idea. I totally agree with that. Stay with your parents for as long as possible, especially if you're in a good situation. You know what I mean? I would say stay with them and save your money so that way you can save your first month, last month, and a deposit, security deposit. And then not to mention that you still need furniture, right? So stay with your parents and just save. I know it could be a little, sometimes it could be a little annoying because you got to stay under their rules. Now, one thing that I did, I think this was my little trick, was I went to college that was 2 hours away. So I didn't stay in state. In city, I wasn't in the same city. So because I had to be in a dorm, I felt a little bit of independence, yet I still didn't have to pay bills because it was still under like my scholarship. So try to get a scholarship, try to get a full ride. If you're not within the same city, you'll probably have to stay in the dorms, and then that gives you a little bit of independence. So that's a nice little trick. But otherwise, when you come back home, stay with your parents. It's not even worth paying all of these bills. All right, we're at the final section.
Here's a recap of steps you can take to get the most from the money you spend.
First, take control of where your money is going. Create a spending plan to help live within your means and avoid running short.
If there's not enough money to go around, look for ways to decrease your flexible and discretionary expenses and/or increase your income.
Make it a priority to pay your bills on time. There are lots of potential penalties for paying late.
When you shop, always consider whether it's something you really need. Get creative about making trade-offs.
Before you sign any kind of contract, whether it's for cell phone service or an apartment lease, Make sure you understand exactly what you're getting into.
And last but not least, spending is fun, but don't spend everything you earn. Save as much as you can. Start by building up at least 2 months of take-home pay and savings for an unexpected emergency.
Well, that last statement, if I just could interject, post-COVID, people were out of jobs for almost 2 years. So that last statement, and as Tanga said, have an emergency fund. And normal financial advice is 3 to 6 months. But after COVID, my suggestion it would be to save as much as possible. You know, a year, two, and by me saying that, it's difficult to do that, very difficult. But we experienced one of the worst economic sessions in American history during 2008, 2006, 7, and 8. So I just want you guys to understand your history.
Yep. An emergency fund. I used to read this book by Dave Ramsey. I liked his principles. And he talked about having an emergency fund of at least $2,000. He says that most Americans don't even have $2,000 in their savings account. So if you, at your ages, can, save $500, then $1,000, then $1,500, and then get to $2,000, you would have more money in your savings account than most adults. And because you guys don't have any real bills, you may have a better net worth. you may have a higher net worth than most adults. Just that simple. So just start maybe trying to save 100, then 500, then 750, then 1,000.
Yep.
So here it says, don't forget the key points. Create your own spending plan. Always pay your bills on time, because you can see it's going to affect you buying a car. It's going to affect you getting an apartment. Decrease flexible and discretionary expenses. Look for ways to increase income. Consider your needs versus wants, and make trade-offs. Understand contracts before you sign them. Have other people look at them with you. And then build an emergency fund. Save as much as you can. And one more thing with the contract, when you're purchasing a car, that's really important to make sure you look at the contract for cars, because a lot of cars, some cars have warranties, and then some dealerships, when you go there, they'll tell you it's as buy as it is, and there was no warranty. That means if you drive off that lot and it breaks down after one block, you can't return it. So you want to make sure that you understand what the terms are. All right.
That's
we
right.
Get into the
That's
very
a good
end.
point. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
All right, we're going to test ourselves here. So your take-home pay or net income is, which of the four below is it? Somebody go ahead and yell it out. Is it the amount received after benefits? The second one. Good. So your take-home pay is the amount received after taxes, after insurance, and after other costs have been subtracted. So if you ever get a job and they say, hey, you're going to get paid $20 an hour and you work 5 hours, you're probably thinking $100. No, there's going to be taxes taken out. If you pay your own insurance, there'll be different insurances. The money will come out, and Social Security money. Oh, I didn't hit submit. Okay, now we know it's correct. Question 2, which of the following is a good example of making a financial trade-off? Skipping a few classes at school in order to go shopping at the mall, skipping a few dinners out in order to save for a weekend trip, skipping a few days of work in order to look for a new job, or trading your US dollar for euros?
Second one.
Second one, yep. Okay. Good. So making a trade-off is saying, hey, I have a weekend trip coming up. I don't want to spend extra money, so I'm going to forego going to the movies this weekend because I'm going to save all my money for next weekend. Or I won't eat out every day this week. Typically, the higher the deductible amount, the less expensive the the car, insurance benefits, insurance premium, cost of a double cheeseburger. So the higher the deductible,
I'm just laughing.
okay. Which one is it? The higher the deductible amount, the less expensive we know it has to be one of these two, right? Which one do you think?
Premium.
Premium, okay. Let's try that. There you go. Yep, the higher the deductible, the less expensive the premium. If your roommates co-sign your apartment lease, they are smarter than you, not responsible for any damage that may occur, equally responsible for paying the moving expenses, or equally responsible for honoring the terms of the agreement.
It's the last one.
Yeah. So if you get an apartment and you have somebody sign on a dotted line, it makes them equally responsible. So you really want to be careful. You never really want to, it could go either way. I'll let Mr. Rayford give his thoughts. So if you're gonna rent a place, and somebody's gonna be living with you, it's smart to have them on the lease, especially if you trust them. And you also want to make sure that you're getting an apartment that you can afford by yourself as well. You want to make sure that you're not overly extending yourself, and then you're dealing with someone that's not worthy, credit worthy, or they're not a good person to go into a contract with. So who you decide to get an apartment with is really important. Even if it's your brother and your sister, you know how they manage money. Be very careful. And with that, I'm going to give it over to Mr. Rayford. And actually, we are at the end of our training.
Right. That's a good point. Even if it's your cousin, your brother, your sister, you love them dearly. When you go in bed with somebody financially, sometimes it's a whole different pot of coffee. So please, and this happened to my son in college. He was on a contract with 3 other roommates, and one roommate was not paying his rent. And like Ms. Tanga said, you got to read that contract. If he didn't pay the rent, the other 3 co-signers had to pay that rent. And we had some challenges getting that rent paid. His parents finally paid that rent. And what had happened was the parents were sending him money for the rent, but he was spending it on other things. So it turned out to be real nasty. So one of the things before we send it to Ms. Rhonda Nolan, did you guys look up the TR7? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
It's a cute car, ain't it?
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks, Layla. All right, Ms. Nolan. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas Youth Economic Empowerment class, Wells Fargo Hands-On Banking. When I call your name, please let me know you were here today so I can mark you as attending today. Amir Wilbert.
Here.
Christine Agalente.
Here.
Darius Reed.
Here.
Elijah Elor. Emberly Cross.
Here.
Emerald Green.
Here.
Giselle Childs.
Here.
Jaden Allen.
Here.
Kyle Jacob.
Here.
Leah Lopez
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Leah Lopez Jackson. Okay, great. Luna Lopez Martinez.
Here.
Marilyn Terrell.
Here.
Niall Parker. Russell Whitmore Jr. Sanaya Bunch.
Here.
Okay. Sydney Harris.
Here.
Treasure Payton.
Here.
Okay, I did not call your name and you're here today. Please let me know right now. Russell the second is here. Yes. Okay, got you, Russell.
Hey, Rhonda, he's here.
Hey,
Thank
okay,
you.
great. Hi, Russell. Anyone else here who's you didn't hear? I did not call your name. Okay, then everybody is here. Okay, Nyla. Okay, I got your message. Okay, fantastic. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today in class. We will see you next Saturday at the same time. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Please
All
talk
right,
to
you
your
too,
parents,
Miss.
people. Please talk.
Great
Good
weekend.
weekend.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend.
Yep.